BruCast is back, baby.
This BruCast episode is brought to you by the BruCast Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BruCast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now bru-cast.com/store. Link below. Alright, welcome back to another BruCast episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BruCast also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where we upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BruCast on Instagram and X and TikTok. Links on the description below. Our guest today is Miriam Rachel. How are you doing, Miriam?
Hi there. I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure. Before anything, I'd like to ask you,
Sure.
what is tarot and how did you get into it?
Okay. Well, it's a long story, but I guess I got to start from somewhere. So I've always been into the unusual, you can say the mystical and all that, but I didn't really fall into it until after my daughter was born, which was now 22 years ago. So it's interesting because I do recall when I was 16, I went to a psychic fair and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I could easily see myself getting into this one day, but I kind of forgot about it after that. And then after my daughter was born, it was rough. I had postpartum depression, but after, I was treated and everything, and then I started delving. I don't know. I felt a pull to begin to delve into this tarot and astrology. So I was really focusing more on astrology first, but then I got more into tarot and then I just started advancing with it. But there were times when I had to put all of it on hiatus because of some major problems and my mental health and physical health were in dire straits, which I'll talk about later. But once things were settled, then I got right back into it and it's been going strong and I'm now into mediumship too on top of that.
You are on what? I'm sorry, the last part?
Mediumship. I
Mediumship.
speak I speak with the deceased. I speak with deceased loved ones, guides and all that.
All right, so that's a skill. um, so let's talk about it. So it's a skill. Is that something that
It's a skill. Yes, it's a skill. Now, it's separate. It's separate. So, I didn't really start delving into it until 2 years ago. Then I started taking some courses and it is a skill. It's like a muscle. Everyone has psychic ability, but the thing is that some have it more enhanced, others don't, but the ones who do have it more enhanced usually do want to run with it and start exercising it like a muscle, right? So, that's the thing. You got to exercise it to make it stand out. I mean, it's no different from being good at math. If you're really good at math and if this is something that you're interested in, getting into, like getting into a career that involves math, which is not me, then you would obviously take courses to enhance it and focus on an area of it, right? It's sort of the same idea.
all right? So we can say safely that you do it professionally.
Yeah.
Is this your full time job?
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
more on the side.
It's
I'm
almost.
a writer. That's my
Oh,
full-time work. I'm
that's
actually a freelance writer, which I've been doing for over a decade. I do write for several publications and I've got some private clients. So that's really what I mainly do.
oh, that's amazing. What do you mainly write about?
So my main niches are, of course, spirituality and
Okay.
metaphysics.
Okay.
Okay. I'm a big contributor to askastrology.com, which is a pretty big publication that covers not just astrology, but metaphysics in general. And another one called Camora. And that's another one that I'm focusing on. And I also have, like I said, some private clients who are astrologers, tarot readers as well. So I help them out with it. And but at first, I was broader as far as what niches I get into. I pretty much wrote about parenting, lifestyle, and I still do. I still do. I have a blog that covers all that as well, and I'm actually going to resurrect a podcast that I had that was part of that blog. I'm going to resurrect it very soon. So I'll talk more about that later.
All right, so going back to tarot, so it's funny because I grew up saying it tarot. So I grew up in Brazil. In Brazil, we say tarot, but you just said it tarot. So
Hmm.
that's the American accent. That's the proper way of saying it.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's tomato tomato, right?
Okay, okay.
It doesn't matter. I mean, some actually say tarot. I say tarot, but I'm also Canadian, so I think it's more common among Canadians to say to say it like that.
I see. Okay, so you mentioned that you've been practicing it for 2 years, if I understood correctly.
Mediumship.
Mediumship, but
Tarot has been on 22 years, more like on and off.
on
22
and
years
off.
on and off. Yeah.
Okay, and there was something about you had a daughter, and after you had your daughter, there was the postpartum
Depression, yeah.
depression. So did tarot helped you through that phase?
Well, actually, once I was even keel, I guess you could say, then yeah, I just fell into it. I don't know, which is quite fascinating, but obviously this was my calling all along.
All right. How can it help someone? I never
There
did.
is a number of ways that tarot can help. It's not just used for divination, which is you know, getting into the mystical side of things. And I don't like saying predicting the future because you really can't do that. Okay. The closest that you can ever get to with tarot is predicting the most likely outcome based on the path that you're on. Okay. I mean, I've had clients come to me, it's like, okay, what should I do? Should I stay on this path or go to another one? So I just look at different alternatives, including the one that they're on. And if the most likely outcome looks favorable, then I will encourage them, just stick it out. But if it doesn't, then I would give them other options. Say, let's look at this. If you were to take this path, let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, this looks better. Then you may want to consider doing it. And I just want to make it clear that nothing is ever set in stone. People have free will, and that's where I think there's so much confusion about going to psych. It's like, oh, what is my future? No, you don't know. You don't know. The closest that you can predict is the most likely outcome based on a particular path that you're taking, but you have the free will to change it if you don't feel it's going to work out well, right?
Got it. So we can say that tarot just presents you your options back to you. Is that a good way of?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just one way that tarot can help. Other ways is through self-reflection, and I'll talk about more about that as well, and creativity. So I've been focusing on all those areas with tarot.
All right, interesting. So where does the ghosts or those who passed away come into play?
Okay, well that's separate.
That's a
That
separate
has nothing
thing.
to
That's a,
Yeah, that has nothing to do with tarot.
I'm sorry. Okay, talking about tarot. Um, I grew up, when you're a kid, right? I used to watch TV all the time. I remember
Right.
it was a gypsy thing. I don't know if this is even considered offensive. Is it considered offensive?
Um, I would say yes, but that's
Okay.
not your fault. If That's not your fault, because you know what the thing is that so many have grown up with that saying, but it really is derogatory.
Okay.
Um, and the other thing is it's a stereotype. It's a stereotype because anybody can get into tarot, right? So
Okay, okay. So it's just the stereotype that Hollywood plays all the time. Okay, but do you know the origin of it? Did it started with a particular group? A
well, yeah.
particular.
So
Okay.
this is interesting. So in the 15th century, it started as a card game in Italy. Okay. And it just was used it was a card game that the wealthy played in Italy, and I believe France too. However, after several centuries later, once divination was starting to become popular, I believe in France it started, that's when cards were used for divination, and then it just snowballed there. But now, over the past century, I'd say the cards have been used for different things. Carl Jung, the psychologist, found ways to use it for identifying archetypes
No way.
and personalities. Yeah, and then you use it now for creativity. I'm actually creating a program that that helps bloggers bust writer's block by using tarot to help them come up with ideas. So that's totally different too.
Okay, damn
So
man.
in other words, you can use tarot for so many things. It's not just for divination. It's versatile. So versatile.
That's so interesting. And I mean, the cards and the art, like the art that they did on the
hmm
card, they look amazing as fuck.
And
Yeah.
there's millions of different decks. The one that
Yeah.
you're probably used to seeing is the classic Rider Waite. And but there are so many decks that you can imaginable. The Simpsons has a deck. There's a Simpsons deck,
No.
and I have it.
Really?
Yep, there is.
So,
Yep,
so
that's the Rider Waite. Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that
Simpsons. Yeah, the Simpsons. There's a tarot deck for the Simpsons.
Simpsons tarot deck. Oops.
Yeah, you'll see. It's crazy. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and to also make it funnier, there's a COVID themed tarot deck
Ah, come on.
too.
You're joking.
No, I'm serious. I am serious. I have it.
Oops. COVID.
Corona deck. I believe it's Corona deck. Corona tarot.
Get out of here. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Fortune, lust, judgment. So the priestess is like a scientist.
hmm
So what is the hierophant? Okay.
The Hierophant. Yeah, I know.
Oh, star. Of course, they use star as the corona.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So how many?
So those are just some examples. There's teddy bears too, and penguin, which is mine. I have the penguin, but there's other penguin decks. Dogs, cats. There's lots of cat decks, but yeah, I'm looking for a Family Guy tarot deck, but nobody seems to have created that yet. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting, and I'm going to keep looking. So once it's out, I'm going to be one of the first ones to get it.
That's so interesting. So depending on your client or your mood on the day, you just say, "Today we're gonna use the Simpsons deck."
Well, I have to say that I don't really use those decks for readings. It's
Okay.
more collectible. I'll just be honest. I do collect a lot. I have a few decks that I use for readings, though.
I get it. I get it. I just got into Pokemon cards again. You say, I know it's silly, but
Oh,
the thing is, they are so. It's highly addictive. I don't know
oh,
what
I know.
you
Yeah.
know.
I wonder if there's a Pokemon tarot. That I don't know, but there might be.
There might be. Okay, I need to look it up. Give me one
Yeah,
sec.
let's look it up. Yeah.
Pokemon tarot deck. Let's see.
I don't know. There might be. It would be kind of funny if there was.
Oh, there you go.
Ah, yeah. Okay, here we go. I'm not into Pokemon myself, but yeah, there you go. Just Family Guy. They haven't done. They have classic cards, playing cards for Family Guy, but I'm waiting for the tarot. I want to see that Family Guy tarot deck, and I want to see it. I don't have the rights to create it myself, so.
Oh, it exists.
And I don't. Oh, those are playing cards, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
All right. So that's very interesting. I know my next purchase. I'm buying a Pokemon tarot tarot deck.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So do that. Yeah.
So let's assume I'm a client. I go
Mhm.
get in contact with you, that's something that we can do online. We can read.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got to change my site though. There's a lot of things I've got to, fix. And I've got a client today later. It's like, oh, how do I pay? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell them. So I've really got to fix that part. And I mean, I'm finished. I'm just so focused on finishing up the course that I just haven't had a chance. But I've got to make sure that's a priority. So yeah, my site is miriamreadstarot.com, and then you go to services, which I'm going to be changing that page. But you can always email me and say which service you'd want, whether it's astrology reading, tarot reading, or even mediumship reading. And then I'll just then I'll put my calendar link and all that there, and that's how it goes.
All right, we're gonna make sure to leave the link on the description below. Miriam,
Yep.
I was doing some research before our call, right? I think I read that on your profile. Apparently, there are 78 major and minor
Hmm.
arcana cards.
Arcana, yeah.
What that means?
So yeah, so basically there's 22 cards on the major arcana, which means those represent the major life cards the cards that represent the major stuff that happens in your life, right? The minor arcana represents the cards that are more mundane, okay? And there are four suits, which are the swords, the wands, the cups, and the pentacles, which represent the four elements. So, wands is fire, which is creativity, passion, and enthusiasm, and all of that. Then you have swords, which is a very challenging suit. It's associated with air, which is all about thoughts, communication, and you know how tough that can be, right?
Yeah.
And cups, which is all about relationships, emotions, also creativity and intuition. And then there's pentacles, which is sorry, the cups is associated with the water element. And then you've got pentacles, which is associated with the earth element. So it's all practicality, money, health, material possessions, and all that, right? So you also have the court cards, which are the page, the knight, and the queen and the king in all um, four suits, right? Which represent different archetypes, the personalities. Okay, but you've got before that you've got cards ace to 10, which represent different different stages of each of those cards. So like aces are always the initiating, right? Because it's associated with the number one. And then twos are all about duality. Threes are growth or creation. Fours are stability. And fives are always the hardest because it represents chaos, right? And then six is balance again. And then seven is spirituality, as well as more like basically digging into your wisdom, having to dig in, right? And then eight is power and movement, and nine is right the culmination, and then 10 is completion, and then starting a new cycle. So that's basically how it is.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Mm.
That's very interesting. So, do you always get combinations of cards? So, for example, in a session, it can happen that you take Earth. If I got it correctly, Earth is money, and then five is chaos. So, if you get
Yeah,
this,
well, the thing is, yeah. So this, so you got all 10 cards in each suit, right? Plus the four court cards. So say if you're talking about the earth, you got pentacles. So say if you want to talk about five, which is the one that represents chaos or upheaval, five of pentacles, and you talk about money or health, etc. Five of pentacles does represent debt, poverty. It can also mean ill health, or also just being spiritually poor.
okay.
Yep.
So there's always like a margin for interpretation.
Yep.
Got it. Well, that That's good. That's good. I mean, it can help you not get extremely depressing in case you got those this combination of cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
That's very interesting. Um, Miriam, another thing that I saw in your profile is that t- tarot helps you overcome pathological people pleasing.
That's just one aspect that tarot can help you do.
Okay.
I wrote a book about that specifically because that is something that I do relate to a lot, as I was a pathological people pleaser until I faced a catalyst that got me out of it. It was a matter of life and death. And now tarot is just a way to help you self reflect to see if you do struggle with people pleasing. And I put some spreads in there to help you do some self reflection. I just basically wrote a book about what pathological people pleasing is about and what it's also called echoism, by the way. I
Oh, it's
mean,
the
a
same
lot of
thing.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, pathological people pleasing, not just, most people except for true narcissists have a need to want to please others because who wants to not be liked, right? But when it comes to sacrificing everything about yourself and keeping yourself out of the spotlight, that's where it's pathological. And that's where I was for a long time until a catalyst got me out of it, right? And I talk about that in my book. But then after that, I was just exploring some ways how tarot can help you self reflect, because that is something that a lot of counselors actually talk about self-reflection and using tarot. So I was like, oh, let's look and see how tarot can help with people pleasing issues. So then I did some research, made some discoveries, and then I decided to write a book about it.
All right. That's very interesting. What's the name of your book again?
It's overcoming echoism with tarot.
Okay. Oh, I think I have it.
Yeah,
Overcoming Echoism with Tarot, using tarot for boundary setting and
yeah.
stopping people
People pleasing,
pleasing.
that's right.
All right.
Hmm.
When did it came out?
Last November. I haven't been marketing it too much because I've been focusing on so many things, but I will get it back into it. And I do need to add an audio book as well to it, which I haven't done yet. So I will do that sometime this year.
Yeah, please, because especially me,
Yeah.
I'm always just listening to audiobooks as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we're gonna make sure to leave the link on the description below for your book. Um, Miriam, I also, before we go, I wanted to cover the ghost part, the spiritual part, a little bit,
Yeah,
if that's
mediumship.
okay.
Yeah, that is definitely that's different from. In fact, I don't recommend using tarot cards for mediumship. I mean, some may, and that's fine. I'm just saying for myself, it's totally separate. So what it is that you have to develop a psychic skill, because psychic and mediumship, they're different but the same as well, if that makes sense. Psychic, and if you're being a psychic, then you're just basically tapping into um intuitively what someone is facing, in their life. And it's reading energies. It's basically reading energies and seeing what the likely outcome is based on the path they're on as well, right? And also tapping into their past. That's psychic reading. Now, mediumship specifically communicates with those who are deceased, those, whether they're guides, those who are deceased. And also you can communicate with those who may be living but may be in a coma, or maybe are nonverbal, whether they um, have dementia or autism or something, right? So you can do that as well through mediumship. And there's different types of mediums. I'm mostly clairvoyant, which means I'm strong with seeing. Some are better with hearing, which I'm weaker with. And I mean, I'm okay with it, but clairvoyance is my strong suit. But there's also an inner knowing and feeling and all that. So that's basically what mediumship is. So there's a lot of work. You got to practice and practice and go to circles like at least once a week, which I do, just to keep it up, just to keep it going, right?
So, when you say circles, what that
They're like
means?
groups,
They're
groups of
groups.
other mediums that practice on each other. Yeah.
Got it. Man, that's so interesting. I had a guest on the show the other day, and he mentioned that when he was a kid, he used to just it was like 5 years old, 10 years old, something like that. He used just to sit in the supermarket
Hmm.
cart and stare at the back of people's heads, just
Oh,
thinking, turn around, look at me, turn around, look at me, and they would
yeah.
eventually do it. It was like, whoa, I have some sort of power.
Hmm.
I don't know if this falls under mediumship, but he said like that's something that,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it can. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. If you're seeing beyond the veil, if you're seeing spirits beyond the veil, then absolutely it is. It's just the next step is communicating with them, right?
Mm.
So that's really what mediumship is. It's more like communicating. You can see spirits, but you got to communicate with them, right? So yeah.
Y-
And the thing is that whoever's around you there's a reason that they have a message for you. Sometimes I get guides for people. Sometimes their deceased loved ones don't come, or friends or deceased friends or coworkers don't come necessarily. It's those who have an important message for them. So,
Okay, okay. That gives a lot to me to think about.
yeah.
Um, One more question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So when we die,
Hmm.
we go to somewhere else. Basically, we we become spirit, and so that will be the first question. So is there somewhere else that we all go? And the follow up question is, for how long we stay there? Because you said some of them come back to give you messages.
Okay, well, I'll just say that even I, as a medium, can't really prove where we go, right? It's in the other realm. We know that. But what does it look like? We're not going to know until we get there,
Why don't
right?
you ask the deceased?
Well, it looks different from each one, right?
Okay.
Everyone has their own reality. That's the thing. I mean, for instance, if you were born and raised and strongly believe in Christianity, you're not going to be as open to this, you know, because God forbids divination. And that's fine. I mean, I mean, my belief is you got to walk the path that you're meant to walk. But I mean, I've heard that those who had near death experiences actually do change their views, but a lot of them do see Jesus because that's their belief, right? So it's different for everyone. But one thing that I do know is that once we do go, our guides are with us, and then we end up going through what's called a life review, which shows everything we've done in our lives, good, bad, and whatever, no judgment, but you're basically you're going to feel the emotions that others felt based on your actions. And
Oh.
that will make you squirm. I mean, listen, I've done a lot of not so nice things in this life. I can complain about what others have done to me, but I also am not innocent. And I'm honestly dreading that part because I know that there's a lot of things I'm going to squirm at seeing. But but that's part of it, and I do know that. And this is where you also get into the issues with karma and all that. If you do come back, which I hope I go on. If I have to reincarnate again, I hope Earth isn't it. I'll just say that.
I mean, where else?
There's
Where
other planets.
there
There
are
are. We just don't. Oh yeah, yeah. There are. There absolutely are, but we don't see it, right? We don't see it. It doesn't matter to us when we're on in that different realm. It's just besides I don't even know if there's going to be an earth left anyway by the time that were to happen. So
Cool. Well, I'm a strong believer in aliens. So
mhm.
that's something that I bring a lot on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
Like I
Yep.
think Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said like if you hold like your thumb and look to the sky in the night sky, just like this area of your thumb, there's more galaxies
Oh
than
yeah, for sure.
grains of sand on planet Earth. So why?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So no
Yeah.
reason for us to be the only one. So Miriam, I know we agree on a certain time. We went a little bit beyond that, so
No,
I
it's good.
it's good.
Mhm.
Do you have any final remarks? Anything else that you'd like to say?
Well, I just want people to live their truth, be authentic, don't please anyone. You are living for you. You do what's best for yourself. And that's really what I want to say. And that has nothing to do with being spiritual or not. It's just a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. It
Well,
was a
thank you for
pleasure.
having me. Yeah. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. If it's your first time watching, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BruCast store, Explorer store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BruCast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. I repeat, brew-cast.com/store. BruCast also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BruCast on Instagram, X, and TikTok. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Miriam. It was a pleasure. See you next time,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye-bye.